Hey, FreeBody family, Kat Matlock here from Asheville, North Carolina, sending love out to all my people, all the people of Western North Carolina. We have a long road to go from the devastation of Hurricane Helene. So keep everyone in the Western North Carolina, Asheville, and mountain areas in your hearts and in your thoughts. Thank you. So today, I really want to break down for you what are the things that you need to do to get out of sciatica pain. I want you to understand what might be missing pieces in your sciatica pain. So, people often ask me, like, what's the best way? Well, if there was one best way to get out of sciatica pain, we would all know it and we would all be doing it. You wouldn't even be watching this right now. So, the best way is to have someone who understands the multitude of conditions that cause sciatica pain, and then the skills and tools to shift those conditions so that you can get out of sciatica pain. That's the best way. And each person could be, there could be a variety of conditions in the body that are contributing to sciatica pain and discomfort, herniated discs, all the things. And so the best way is to work with someone who understands, has that lens that's a broader lens instead of this fixated thing of this is the cause of sciatica and this is the way to fix it. Because, there's not one way, and different people need different skills and tools to get out of sciatica pain. You don't want to take all year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. You want it to be reasonable, right? Like 90 days or less. I want to be out of sciatica pain. And you can. You can. So then the question comes up, like, well, why doesn't the stuff I'm already doing work? Why isn't chiropractic fixing it? Or why do I only feel better for a short period of time? Why does the PT only get me so far, but not all the way healed? Why isn't the stuff I'm doing working? And the fact is that the stuff you're doing might be just a little piece of the puzzle. Like piriformis is never the one cause of sciatica and sciatica pain. And hammering on your piriformis or stretching it ad nauseum with the leg crossed over your other knee and pulling and stretching, that's not going to work. You may have noticed that already, right? So no muscle works in a vacuum. Nothing works on its own. It's a system, and there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be addressed to really be effective in getting out of pain. And so how do I know this? Because I've been working with people for over 30 years. This is a workshop, a sold out workshop that I taught at a yoga festival earlier this year, 2024. And it was specifically for hips and sciatica pain. Several people came up to me afterwards and were like, oh my God, my butt doesn't hurt right now. This doesn't hurt right now. And part of it is because we look at a bunch of different conditions and not just the one, what people might think is the one cause of their pain. So 30 years I've been working with people in pain. And as you may know from watching other videos on this channel, I fixed my own sciatica and chronic low back pain. For years, many years, I had chronic sciatica pain. And that was really made everything hard in life. It made being a mom harder. It made working harder. It made everything in my life harder because I couldn't sleep sometimes. Sometimes I was fine. And then and I'd be like, oh, maybe this is it, but I lived in kind of constant fear that it was going to come back. And then finally, once I put all the pieces together, I was able to get myself out of pain in about 6 weeks, where I was staying pretty consistently out of pain. And then within a few months, I was like really pain free. And within a year, I knew I was never going to have it again. So that's kind of the trajectory. You want to be feeling a lot better within 6 weeks of whatever you're doing. And if you've been doing a lot of things longer than 6 weeks and you're not feeling a lot better, you need to maybe address some other things. So I also want to share with you that I've helped thousands of people. These are some of the people that I've helped. Nat here in the middle, lifelong equestrian. And she literally showed up at my clinic one day, fell to her knees and was like, are you Kat Matlock? Because someone told me that you can help me. I really need your help. I can't sleep. I'm in so much sciatica pain. And so we got her sleeping pretty well within a couple weeks, and then was able to get her out of sciatica pain and get her back on the horse. And that's the thing, is that sciatica takes over so many parts of your life that you stop being able to do the things you love. And when you get the right skills and tools put together, then you can really get free and get back to doing the things that make life worth living. So here
Hi
is.
there. I just finished about 3 months of working with Kat Matlock at FreeBody on a herniated disc issue that was causing me pain for nearly a year, sciatica pain down my right leg. And I had tried PT and, lots of different things to try to alleviate the pain. Nothing worked. I started my trigger point therapy with Kat, as well as a regimen of exercises that she offered me and videos. And within 3 months, my sciatica pain was completely alleviated. And I did not believe it was possible. Multiple people told me that I would need surgery. And I just wanted to say that Kat was instrumental in helping me get over this chronic pain after a full year of very severe sciatica pain due to my herniated disc. So thank you so much, Kat. You're the best.
So that was Zach. And as you heard, within 3 months, he was completely out of pain. Multiple people told him he needed surgery. So I'm always going to recommend avoid surgery for as long as you can and give this system a try. Because what I discovered is that you need a system, and not only do like different people need different things, but also you need a system that encompasses all the parts, all the free body 5 points of freedom. And that so many people who thought they couldn't get out of pain suddenly are now able to get out of pain with the right kind of package put together. So how do we do it? How do we get rid of sciatica pain? What are those 5 things that need attention to do that? Well, that's what the free body system is based on. And that's what this YouTube channel is based on. That's what all these things are based on, is the 5 points to freedom. And the crown jewel of the 5 points to freedom is releasing trigger points. To release trigger points, to alleviate the tension that has the lumbar spine in prison, that has the SI joint in prison, that is gripping the spine, leading to herniated discs, leading to sciatic nerve compression. Discs don't herniate on their own. Like, you could be in a pretty severe accident and a disc herniate, but usually, even so, that's usually the conditions have already been set up for that to happen. It takes time for a disc to herniate, and they herniate because of tensional pull on the spine. So when you release trigger points, you have the greatest capacity to get out of pain. So let's talk about these 5 points: the releasing trigger points, the crown jewel, and then soothe the brain, move enough, sit and stand well, and stretch, and really also strengthen. So let's talk about trigger points first. And if you're not addressing trigger points in your sciatica healing journey, it may be why you're still stuck in pain. So trigger points are focal points of tension in a muscle. They're the part of the muscle that gets stuck constantly contracting. Trigger points cause inflammation, they cause pain, and not where the trigger point is all the time. The trigger point itself will hurt, and then there's pain referral where the trigger point makes it hurt elsewhere too, which can make it a little bit more confusing. Trigger points also cause loss of range of motion, weakness in muscles. They and relative to sciatica, trigger points in the muscles of the hips, the thighs, the inner thighs specifically, and the lower back, those muscles are going to pull on the pelvis and the lumbar spine. Pushing and pulling on the discs can ultimately lead to those bulging or herniated discs. And if you don't treat the underlying cause of the disc herniation or the nerve compression, whatever is causing it, then if you're not treating that underlying cause, it's going to be very difficult to actually fix that problem or get out of sciatica pain. If you don't treat those underlying causes, you're not going to really be able to decompress that nerve because the muscles are going to keep pulling it out, right? So you got to attend to trigger points, which are focal points of tension in muscles. They're habitual, they're persistent, they stick around for many decades. I've worked with people who have had pain for over 70 years, 70 years, who also get out of pain because they treat their trigger points for the first time in their lives. So we have to tame these trigger points. And to really address the underlying causes of lumbar issues, hip and sciatica pain, we have to release those trigger points in those areas for long-term relief and decompression. And often taming the trigger points is a missing essential piece of the puzzle to getting out of pain. Because trigger points are tension in a muscle. If you feel a muscle is tight or you feel there's tension, you have trigger points for sure. Feeling tight also can come from sticky fascia and connective tissue, and that plays a role in all pain syndromes. But speaking specifically of the muscular parts, trigger points are tension in muscles. They have a little pool of inflammation around them, which makes them tender, which makes them hurt. And then also, trigger points can limit a muscle's ability to do its job, weakness, or limit a muscle's ability to lengthen and limit your ability to stretch that muscle without causing pain and dysfunction. And maybe you've had that experience where you've been stretching that piriformis ad nauseum, and then it just hurts more, right? It just hurts more. If you're yanking on a muscle with trigger points, it's actually going to make the trigger points worse, right? So trigger points equal pain. They've been proven to create pain and numbness and tingling in the body. They directly cause that pain where it hurts the trigger point itself. And they also cause pain. What I spoke of earlier is that pain referral. And you're going to see a picture in a couple of slides of the pain referral of the gluteus minimus muscle, the pseudosciatica muscle. But I want you to understand that trigger points cause pain and not always where you would expect it. There's a trigger point in a calf muscle called the soleus that can cause jaw aching. What? It's crazy. It's crazy. But trigger points also cause inflammation, and inflammation makes nerves more sensitive to pain. So inflammation is some healing. Your brain goes, oh, there's some healing going on. I should pay more attention to this area. I'm going to turn up the volume in the nerves where that inflammation lives. So if you have inflammation around a nerve, it's always going to feel more painful. And trigger points always create inflammation. So when you get stuck in contraction with trigger points, that inflammation really never goes away. And the nerves around it get stuck in that increased stress response. And then you're just stuck in pain. And then when you discover rolling and releasing your trigger points or pressing on them, look at all the over 200 videos, 250 videos on this channel. A lot of them are, here, take this ball and put it right here, or put it right here if you're getting headaches. I teach you specifically where to go for different conditions. And when you hit it, like when I first put a ball into my gluteus minimus and I felt that my whole sciatica pain referral light up, I was like, oh, bullseye. That's it. That is it. And often that's what people feel when they're rolling and releasing their trigger points. So this is a pain referral picture from a muscle called gluteus minimus. And gluteus minimus is called the pseudosciatica muscle, or the sciatica imitator. And just look at this picture for a minute. You can see like that butt pain, aching down the lateral thigh, the iliotibial band, aching into the calf, into the shin, aching into deep pain in the buttocks, deep pain down the hamstrings. Oh, that like electric like shooting pain down the hamstring, deep in the calf. All of those areas can come from little tiny trigger points up in the side of the pelvis in the outer hip muscle, and which is gluteus minimus. So just look at that picture, see if you recognize any of that in your body. And if you do, it's very likely that you have trigger points in your gluteus minimus, which may be either contributing to or maybe the whole puzzle, the whole pie of the pain that you experience or the numbness or tingling or whatever. So you can get out of pain. You can break free from the cycle of pain, but you have to address trigger points. So remember, trigger points are the crown jewel up here of the 5 points to freedom. And then the other parts, soothe, move, sit and stand well, stretch, all those other parts are the parts that keep your trigger points at bay and keep you from developing more trigger points as you go along. So, our next part to talk about, the second key thing that must be addressed to get out of sciatica pain is to soothe the brain. So, what pain neuroscientists like Lorimer Moseley out of Australia, he's a doctor of neuroscience in Australia, and what he and his colleagues and other neuroscientists have taught us is that pain lives in our brain. Okay, so when the brain is agitated, as it often is with someone who is in pain, that agitation activates what's called a stress response in the brain, which releases tons of chemistry and increases inflammation. A stress response always activates inflammation. And as we just talked about, inflammation increases our pain. So that's why people who are stressed out experience more pain in their bodies. So stress activates inflammation, and it makes your whole nervous system on guard. So whatever amount your nerves are going to be turned up already from the inflammation, they're going to be turned up even higher. Their sensitivity will be turned up higher when you're in a state of stress. So because your brain's like, I got to pay attention to everything. Right? And so that's going to super increase your pain. Pain begets stress, which begets more pain. And it's a vicious cycle to get stuck in. And so to step off of that pain, stress treadmill, you have to soothe and regulate your brain. So there are three main struggles that people with sciatica pain have. They've got the pain, right? Automatic stress response. They've got fear and worry about the pain, like, am I always going to be like this? Is this what it always is now? Will I ever get better? What if I can't do the things I want to do? What if I can't, or if they're not able to run anymore or not able to ride their bike or their horse anymore? That's mental health issues, right? Because if you can't exercise and do the things you love, then your mental health will suffer. And then with all of that mixed together, a lot of folks suffering with sciatica can't sleep. They either can't sleep because they're in pain, or they can't sleep because they have anxiety about the pain they're experiencing. And so when you can't sleep and you're tired, and then you get angry or worried or frustrated with your body, and there's fear, all of that is a stress response. It increases the stress response, which means more inflammation and more pain. So you have to regulate and reprogram your brain. You have to learn some simple skills, befriend your body, and then learn some simple skills to soothe the brain out of a stress response. And I have some clients who, this one client in particular I'm thinking of, who has had chronic low back pain. She had a lot of stress in her life, some early childhood trauma that she was kind of there was still some guarding in her body. And when she's running out on the trail, she might get that pain, might start really acting up. And so she can get down on the ground and do like a minute, 2 minutes of this specific breathing technique that I teach and some other things, and get herself out of pain, literally right there on the trail. Like going, okay, here, I'm holding this stress. Notice she's getting agitated. Notice her pain is a flare, and her pain flare is a symptom to her that she's agitated or something's going on in her mind. So what is this what is this part of the brain that we're soothing? I call this taming the inner Neanderthal, because there's a part of our brain called the amygdala that is called the fear center. And it's just receiving messages from other parts of your body and other parts of your brain and your brain stem, processing information, deciding whether or not to set off the alarms. And so it's kind of the caveman or cave person at the door, at the gate, going, do I need to smash you? And so when that amygdala, when that inner Neanderthal gets triggered, it grabs its club and starts smashing. And so it can feel like an overreaction. It can feel like too much for the situation at hand, or we can just get so angry about being in pain. So this soothing of the brain is really kind of going in there and going, it's okay, baby. It's going to be all right. You're going to be okay. Put the club down. And over time of doing that enough and doing very specific, simple brain hacks to regain control of that inner Neanderthal, you can create more ease. You'll sleep better, and ease and sleep mean less pain in the long run. Even with, if you did nothing else, if you just did that taming the inner Neanderthal, your life would get better. So now to the number 3 is move, right? The third point of freedom is to move. So getting up and moving throughout your day is an essential part of living without pain, because too often people in pain stop moving because they think, oh, well, that hurts, I shouldn't do it, or they get scared because they move and something grips, which could just be a muscle trigger point gets activated, and you might get a flash of pain for a minute and go, oh no, I shouldn't move. But the problem is that the less you move, the more sticky and dehydrated your tissues get, and the more sort of deeply embedded in the muscles the trigger points get. Right? So the more dehydrated your body gets, because movement is what pushes fluids through all of your parts, then also the more inflammation gets trapped in certain areas. If you're not moving around those places of inflammation, it can't get through and it gets stuck there. And then inflammation makes those nerves more sensitive to pain. So you do have to move. Sometimes you have to push just a little bit into an edge of pain and then back off, and then go to it and back off. There's different techniques that I teach to kind of meet your pain, but stopping moving is one of the worst things that you can do. Ultimately, it just allows that tensional dysfunction to sort of embed itself more deeply into your body. So being still for too long makes your tissues tight and weak and sticky. So getting up out of your chair is really, really important. And what you want to do is take specific movement breaks throughout your day, not just, I mean, getting up and moving any amount is going to be helpful, but when you have sciatica, there are kind of specific movement breaks that you want to do. And if you're not doing those movement breaks, that might be one of the reasons why you're not getting better. So we're going to move on to the kind of posture section, or sit and stand well. So again, we're talking about the 5 points of freedom out of sciatica pain, really any pain, but specifically this talk is about sciatica. So when you sit and stand well, then you have far less pain and tension that gets developed in the low back, in the hips, in the thighs, in the legs. Um, if you sit for a long period of time and you're kind of slouching or leaning over a little bit too much, which nearly everyone does, then it's going to be hard for you to feel good at the end of the day. And one of the things I mentioned in my book is the head of the Mayo Clinic was quoted as saying, sitting is the new smoking, because folks who sit for 7+ hours a day have the same sorts of death rates as folks who smoke heavily for all their lives, who have diabetes, who have a variety of conditions. sitting is the new smoking. So you gotta, if you're gonna sit at all, you gotta do it well, right? And then most folks that come to me with sciatica have some sort of tension in their inner thighs. And for lots of folks, it's partly relative to the fact that they cross their legs all the time. Stop crossing your legs all the time because it's not helping you. Okay. And then the last piece is, if you collapse while you're standing, and my hypermobility folks, I'm feeling you, right? Because this is especially important for my folks with hypermobility because the joints are just a little bit looser. The bones kind of fit a little more softly and they slide a little bit more. And then when you put all of that together, it gets really easy to it gets tiring to sit or stand well when you're hypermobile, especially when you're hypermobile. And then if you have some dysfunctional patterns, some places are tighter than others, maybe the hamstrings are a little too tight or the hip flexors are a little too tight, that's going to kind of, even when you stand, it's going to kind of keep wanting to pull you into that position. And if it's a dysfunctional position, it's not going to serve you. So it takes some effort to sit and stand well. And I want to say one more thing, like this is the same guy in this picture. Like when he collapses and slouches and rounds forward, look, his belly comes out. He's kind of tucked under, he's slouched, his head is forward. He looks better in that picture on the right, and he's slightly engaged through his core. He's nice and long and taller than he is in the other picture. And that, just that length through the posture decompresses the spine a little bit, takes some pressure out of those discs a little bit. You can't keep collapsing into your spine and your body and collapsing into the same dysfunctional position and expect your spine and your nerves to feel okay. So that is my speech on sitting and standing well. And then the last point of freedom is to stretch. Now, here's the tricky part. Have you ever felt that stretching was making you worse? Like you were in one of these figure four poses or this version of that hip stretch on the floor in yoga? Have you ever been in this position and actually felt worse? I know I have. When I had sciatica and I was like, I am going to figure this out. I am going to get out of this pain. I was a yoga teacher. I was taking yoga classes all the time. I was doing the stretching. I was doing the things. And my teacher came and like pushed on my back when I was in on the floor and trying to get my piriformis to release. Just keep relaxing is what she said. And then one time I couldn't even get up off the floor after, where I was in so much pain, right? So again, if you're trying to stretch muscles with trigger points, it doesn't work. You can't just yank on them. You have to understand how the whole puzzle is working together, because often what we're stretching is the wrong thing. So you want to stretch the right way. You want to do more full body stretching. And then if you're going to do targeted stretching, there's some specific techniques to do. So you're not just yanking on those trigger points and making things work. And then you want to stretch the right parts. If you're not stretching your inner thighs or doing any release work in your inner thighs, you're going to have a hard time getting out of sciatica pain. So it's important to pay attention to the right parts and stretch all of those, the short parts, and then you want to strengthen the long parts. And that's just a whole different understanding than what a lot of people receive. They're doing the same thing on both sides of their body or both front to back, stretching this, stretching that, and sometimes it's making them worse. So when you put all that together, those 5 points of freedom, releasing trigger points as the crown jewel, and then soothing your brain, because stress activates trigger points and inflammation and pain, moving enough in the body throughout the day to keep your body and your tissues hydrated, more supple, to move inflammation through. And then also you're kind of lubricating the tissues themselves. You have to sit and stand well throughout your day and pay attention to how your posture is, and not just leaning on everything and collapsing on stuff all the time. And then you have to stretch the right way in the right parts. When you put all of those pieces together, and strengthening the body, which is can be a part of your movement or your stretching, then you've got a complete system. But if you're just really stressed out all the time and you're not taking time to soothe, and there could be some old trauma, some old stories, some old pain and suffering that your body has contracted around. And that's the somatic piece of the work that I do, is understanding you don't have to relive your traumas, but it might be that your body's holding some tension around some parts of your body because of them. And so, how do you befriend your body in such a way that you can meet difficulties and meet pain and suffering and contraction in your body with compassion and kindness, so that you can actually release them? So just want to speak to one client I worked with, Claudia. She has a dog walking business, and her massage therapist in out west knew me from Asheville and recommended my online courses to her. And Claudia, in her early 50s, who had long-term lower back pain, over the last year or two had developed horrible sciatica, where she wasn't even able to walk without terrible pain. And she said, when she and I finally spoke, she said, I really thought that I was going to have to go on disability. But she worked really hard. She had nothing else to do during the day, so she spent a lot of time each day, and that can expedite your process. If you take a week off and just work on your body, you can get really far in a week. You don't have to do that. You can do a little bit every day and still be successful in getting out of pain. But Claudia was able to get herself out of pain in like about a week. She was much better. A couple weeks, she was like, oh my gosh, zero pain. Like, she went from not being able to walk or sit or lay down without terrible pain, thinking she had to close her business and go on disability, into, oh my gosh, I'm going to be okay. And I am okay. After many years of working with thousands of people and clearing my own sciatica and never being afraid that it's going to come back again, I have created a program called the Sciatica SOS. And it's really addresses the 5 points to freedom. It's the only program that I know of that really addresses the 5 points to freedom. And I just want to tell you a little bit about it. I'm starting regular programs. Every couple of months, I'll start another session. I'm hoping about every 3 months. And this program is really unique and different. So it's a sciatica healing journey. The Sciatica SOS is a 12-week sciatica healing journey with me guiding you every step of the way. And what it is a clear, personalized path to freedom. So I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute, because the thing is that this program attends to the 5 points of freedom, and it's personalized to you because we meet a couple of times throughout the program, online, individually, one-on-one, so I can guide you and help shape your path with you, bringing my skill set and my deep understanding of the body and sciatica pain, so that you don't have to guess what to do, right? So the Sciatica SOS program is 3 phases in 9 steps. And those steps, again, are personalized based on our private one-on-one sessions, you and me, and as well as through our weekly coaching sessions and Q&A, because we're together every week. You can ask me questions. Hey, I tried this. This is what happened. Oh, hey, now my neck is feeling a little funky. Can we fix my neck too? Oh, yeah, sure. Here's the videos to do that. Important to understand that you might have sciatica because your right hip is high, and the person next to you might have sciatica because their left hip is high. You might have sciatica because there's too much tilt in your pelvis and you're spilling forward, or you might have sciatica because there's too much tuck in your pelvis and you're slouched and rounded down forward. All of those 4 situations need a different approach. And so I only do this program in small groups. Each person gets personalized individual attention. And then when we come together once a week, then you can ask me questions and we can further dial things in for you. But there are certain practices that are helpful for everyone. You just need to know which side to do them on often. So in this program, we go live once a week. And then for the next 3 days, depending on what we discuss and how things are going, I send you just 3 short videos, one a day for the next 3 days. So we go live one night, and then the next 3 days, you get a short video that's like just a few minutes long. Here's a practice to add into your day. So totally actionable things to do, right? And then you have the community and support. You get a group of people to go through it with. And then you have that weekly coaching. So you're getting that support from me as well. And so this is a little picture inside the Sciatica SOS portal. So when you join the course and we go live, but then I have a ton of helpful information inside the portal. And so that's where it hosts our recordings of our coaching sessions. There's ebooks, anatomy pictures, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to introduce those other parts. The portal hosts all of the different memberships. So it's each step of the 9 steps. And this is where everything lives, right here in this beautiful portal. And this introduction part is where you'll see recordings of our group coaching. You get the ebooks. You get links to other helpful videos, anatomy teachings, all of that stuff is right here in that introduction. And so I said there's 9 steps in 3 phases. So the first phase is foundations of healing. How do we get the foundation set so that healing can actually take place? And remember, we have to tame the inner Neanderthal. That's always the first step. If you aren't addressing the stress in your nervous system, you're going to have a hard time getting out of pain. So you have to soothe the brain, release tension, unwind stress. And there's really simple, effective, proven brain hacks to be able to do just that. And that's what's in the taming the inner Neanderthal part of this. And then step 2 of the foundations is understanding pain-free posture. What does that mean? And it might not be pain-free at first because you might be pulling on things that haven't been opened in a very long time, right? But good posture helps to traction your spine, decompress the spine, and you need to build strength in very particular muscles in particular ways to be able to sit and stand well. So the pain-free posture section is step 2. And then step 3 of the foundations is beginning to move and learning what specific movements are really geared to help you out of your sciatica pain, what things you shouldn't do, right? Not everyone needs the Mackenzie low back method. That doesn't work for everyone. And so it's helpful to understand why that is and what are the movements that actually are helpful and how often to do them. So super simple, easy, effective movements to get your tissue hydrated, move inflammation, and start building strength. Now, phase 2 is taming trigger points, because trigger points are a beast and they can be exactly why you're stuck in pain. So in phase 2, you learn how to release key trigger points in the muscles of the hips and in the muscles that pull on the hips. And this section is so important if you have a leg length discrepancy, one leg longer than the other, so to speak, too much tuck, much tilt, pain down the outside of the thighs, iliotibial band pain, deep ache in your buttocks, SI joint pain, SI joint dysfunction, all these things. And this is the step where we really fix that. But I just want to say those foundations have to be set first. That's why the trigger point stuff is in phase 2, because if you're stressed out and you're slouching on the couch all the time and you're not moving enough, the trigger point release work isn't going to be effective. So we set that foundation, then we start releasing trigger points. We start with the hips and the inner thighs, and then we move into the lumbar spine. Because also what I've learned working with thousands of bodies is that the trigger points in the hip muscles will activate and cause pain and dysfunction in the low back muscles. So we release the hips, then we're going to go up into the low back and release tension around the lumbar region. And then we go deep in the belly to the deep core, the deep hip flexor muscles. Um, and those muscles really get activated in stress because they're your curl up and protect muscles. And they're also your biggest kick to get out of out of danger or run away from danger muscles. So you need to know how to unbind and release those deep core muscles. And that's the last part of phase 2. And then once now we got more freedom. We got more freedom. We're breathing better. We're moving more. We're sitting better. We're walking better. We've done traction of the spine, that mobilize and decompress. And now we can build strength and stretch. And that phase 3, now you can start building a corset of strength around your lumbar spine instead of just doing sit-ups. They're not your friend when you have sciatica, or some other kind of ineffective core strengthening. The concentric core strengthening is so essential to getting out of sciatica pain, because you actually build some strength in a way that helps your spine to be longer. And then the second step is the retrain and rebuild section, where you can safely develop strength all around the hips and the lower back, where you learn how to stretch the right parts. And we will have been building that throughout the program, how to strengthen the right parts. And we will have been doing a little bit of that. But then this section gives you a variety of exercises offered for a variety of various levels of flexibility and ability. And you'll also, of course, have my guidance to know which ones fit your unique situation. And then phase 3, step 3 is every participant, then we meet one-on-one again. And I'm like, okay, you're doing so much better, or you're completely out of pain. Yay. Here's things to remember. Here are essential things for you to keep going. And we have that wrap up meeting, and then get clarity on what are the steps that you need, how often do you need to continue, where are you at the end of 3 months, and what are the best steps forward. So that's essentially the program. You get all of those 9 steps, those 3 phases, where we address the 5 points to freedom. And so just a little bit more about me. I have helped thousands of people. I love it. I love my jobs. I love my work. I love helping people to get out of pain. I know what it's like to feel helpless with sciatica. And I suffered with it for over 15 years. Sciatica sucks. I know it. And so now I have really, over the past many years, been developing this course and this program. And we're gifted with this ability to be able to work online together, which is amazing. And I have had the pleasure of working online with people in multiple countries in Europe, in Canada, and all over the United States. And what I have found is that it really is important to have some community. This is a group of some low back folks that I took through a program a couple of years ago, and they were so supportive of each other, and that's what we need, right? We need to feel like we're not alone on this journey. And then again, you have weekly live Zooms for 3 months. You can ask questions on the Zooms. If you're really struggling with something, you can send me an email. I'm available to you for 3 months. And then you get to ask those questions, get that support, get guidance, get assistance. You get 2 one-on-one personal meetings with me, once in the beginning and once at the end. And then you get all the tools you need. But you get a percussion massager if you need one. You get some yoga blocks. You get a QL claw. You get balls. You get the FreeBody ball. You get all the tools that you're going to need. And then also you get anatomy video trainings in this program, understanding sciatica pain referrals, understanding trigger points in sciatica. You get anatomy pictures and some ebooks. Here's anatomy pictures to understand the muscles that we're working with. ebooks that I've written on back pain and hip pain, and then also a copy of my physical actual book that I published last year called FreeBody: The Body, Pain, and a Path to Freedom. You get all of that as well. And something I want to point out that's really unique about this program, there's so many aspects of it that are really unique and effective, but one thing is that we really look at leveling the hips. Now, most people with sciatica pain have one hip that's higher than the other. That is so often the case, which leads to compression of the nerves, which leads to herniated and distorted discs. When we are working to level your hips, I just want to say they may not ever be fully level. Our bodies are not symmetrical from side to side. But what I've seen is that if we start working toward that, that really turns on the ability of the muscles to change and reshape and release their tension, so that you're not increasing that dysfunctional pattern. For some reason, this key element to healing from sciatica pain is almost always missing in everybody that has ever come to me with sciatica pain. And that's a lot of people. And everyone is like, and no one ever talked to me about it. No one ever was like, hey, Kat, your right hip is sitting high. I figured that part out on my own, right? And so this is a key and unique aspect to this program, and it's something that we cover in that happy hips part, that first portion of releasing trigger points, because that is such an essential piece. So if you've made it this far, great job. Great job. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. And I want to offer you a free call with me. I'd love to hop on the phone or hop on a Zoom call with you for 10, 15 minutes and just see if the Sciatica SOS journey is right for you. So I've put a link to that in the description below. Please schedule yourself a 15-minute, whatever session with me so that we can meet and you can ask me some questions. I'm happy to help you. I do have another program starting really soon, and then it'll be a few months. So schedule that call really soon. And I want to help you. I really hope that I have the opportunity to help you. So many people say to me, what I've heard so many times over the last many years is, yeah, no one ever explained that to me like that. It makes total sense. Now I understand why I'm stuck in pain. And then once they start feeling relief and doing the practices, I invariably hear, wow, I have hope again for the first time in years. So I want you to feel that hope. Don't give up hope. And let's just have a conversation. No commitment expected, whatever. Let's just have a conversation. And I'd love to see if I can help you too. Thanks so much. Take care.